And welcome into the high school football playoff preview show, week number 3, regional championship round. Along with Jacob Hankins, Spencer Hutchinson, I'm James Carr. Happy to have you along with us here tonight on Cool TV. Guys, it's the round to where this is where the real teams start to separate themselves from the imposters. We got a lot of what we expected through the first 2 rounds, a lot of that. Now you get into those most anticipated matchups. The RPI kicks in this week. We're East versus West, and this is where the real teams really separate themselves ones for the ones that's just been kind of hanging around.
Yeah, other than Johnson Central, most of it has been chalk and matchups that you looked back when the playoffs first started and said, okay, other than maybe Paris beating Sayre, not a shocking upset, but unexpected. I think that's a fair statement. It was unexpected. Other than that, and Johnson Central getting that sister district with Covington Catholic and Fort Thomas Highlands, that's unfortunate for them in Ashland, man. Think about the worst draw as a sister district in the state. It couldn't be any worse than what Johnson Central and Ashland have.
And think about this. You have Fort Thomas Highlands that came back down from 5A into 4A because they were forced back down because the state doesn't allow teams to play up anymore. And all the guys there in 4A says, well, gee, thanks for the assist there, KHSA.
Yeah, 5A was probably really happy about that.
Absolutely. And this is a year that I believe Highlands in 5A probably is your perennial favorite with the team that they have right now.
They definitely win 5A, but 4A is
That's
just
another question that we're going to bring up here in just a little bit.
It is interesting.
Scores or games across the bottom of your screen. That's all the games coming up this week in the round of 8. And guys, one thing to throw out there, and it's interesting to, we're talking about this again, but I think one of the elements that we have to bring into this week of the playoffs, there's going to be some precipitation out there. It's going to be some muddy conditions on some fields that are going to be natural surfaces where we've had a tremendous amount of rain already this week, and we've got more coming in on Friday.
Yeah, it kind of sets up which for next week, what me and you were talking about last night before we did the show with Coach Salmons about how there could be 8 to 12 inches of snow. So we could have 2 totally different seasons within a week of each other.
It'd be crazy.
Well, I think that if Raceland can hold on to the ball out of all the teams alive in the area, I think it benefits them the most.
And that's something I've said too. Any team right now that goes into this week moving forward that has a prolific running attack, they have to check that box and feel like they are at least ahead of the game.
Yeah, if they could hold on to the ball, that's been the problem anytime that they've had a little dampness or anything, and it's been holding on to the football. At East Carter, you had 3 first half turnovers. One of them was the interception, but that was just a great play by the East Carter defender. That wasn't a bad read by Jake at all, but 2 fumbles there in the first half, and I understand the ball was muddy, and you're not going to get the mud necessarily on that turf field. I don't know if any team left – any game's going to be on natural grass, is it?
I don't know. I mean, there may be some of the Western schools. I'm not 100% certain, but I would say you're probably getting into the round to where just about everybody's playing on turf.
Right. So throw the mud factor out. Now you're just getting – now it's not men versus boys. It's men versus men. So now, no excuses. You just got to hold on to the football, especially when it's wet. And I bet Raceland and Lawrence County and Russell and some of the other teams that are still live have probably practiced with a wet football this week. Well, they probably didn't have to. It's rained almost every day this week.
That's for sure. So
I think that this is not unfamiliar territory for anybody. But if any team going into this round had an advantage – it's Raceland. You've seen your opponent before on the exact same field you're going to play him on, and you've just 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago played on a field that couldn't be in worse condition. It muddy, wet, and if you can survive that, then you feel pretty good about going in Friday.
The big thing about this game too is and Coach Simmons said it great on the show last night, was he said the same message to his team against Nicholas County. He's going to say the same thing Friday night, that he has to remind the team, hey, the score doesn't pick up from where this game left off when it was 55-7 here a month ago. The score is 0-0, and you've got to answer the bell. Raceland ran for a score record 481 yards that night, but they were very explosive. They answered the bell very early, and that's the same tempo that they've got to start with in this game when they play here Friday night.
Yeah, but on a wet field, that slows people down. And I think that you're going to rely on your offensive line like you have all year, maybe more than ever in this game. Paris struggles against the run, and that's why they were super successful against Sayre. Sayre likes to throw the ball around. Their head coach is Chad Pennington. So they like to throw the ball around, and I think that played into Paris's hands. They've got great athletes on the edge. Paris does now. That 55-7. Uh, you know, that don't that just I say that just like look at Nicholas County. They've got a couple kids that can play anywhere, and I
Absolutely.
think the same. I think the same could be said about Paris. But if they can come out and get that early season edge, I think that me and you texted about that early in the year or just last week. They since the Pikeville game, I'm not saying they played bad, but it's been different. I'm not sure. You look at the score and you say, "Oh, that guy don't know what he's talking about." It's felt different. I don't know. They need to regain that edge because now it's win or go home. So
All right, let's dig into some games. Let's start first in Class 6A. South Warren, Henderson County. This will be the west side of the bracket, and then St. X and Mail. Guys, what do you look at when you look at these two games here? South Warren and Henderson, St. X and Mail. What do you look at when you see this matchup here?
Well, this is not a traditional powerhouse male team. They're a little down this year for male. St. X is still, chugging along, same old St. X, definite title threat winner. I expect St. X to win that one. I expect South Warren to beat Henderson County. But both of those teams will have to look out the windshield and see the big green T here pretty soon. So
The St. X Mail game. This is a replay of September 5th, 38-7. St. X easily passed that
yeah,
one. So
yeah.
we talked a lot about South Warren last week. I've really been very complimentary of them. They've got some solid wins. A 35-0 blanking of Pulaski County. They beat Bryan Station in the early game, 36-35. I mean, they've got some solid wins, and without a loss, they're 11-0. The only team in Class 5A or 6A, excuse me, without a loss on the season.
Yeah, they haven't faced St. X and they have not faced Trinity either. I think most of the teams in 6A uh, have played those teams. So I'm not saying South Warren is untested, but they certainly have not played a opponent the caliber of what St. X and Trinity is. Trinity plays teams out of Indianapolis. I think they play Cathedral out of Indianapolis. They play St. X in Cincinnati. The same could be said for St. X in Louisville. They play teams up in Ohio too. I'm not saying that Warren can't win these games, but they have not been tested on that level yet. But I do expect them to cruise on Friday.
On the bottom half of this, Jacob, Trinity and Madison Central in the first game, Frederick Douglass Ryle in the second game. I think that Frederick Douglass Ryle game could be a really good matchup.
Oh man,
Yeah, the weirdest thing about this is seeing Trinity and St. X east and west. Aren't they separated by like less than 10 miles
Yes, they
or
are.
something like that? Like that's the weirdest thing. Um, but yeah, it's Trinity's to lose, I think. So, um, yeah, that's really all I can
nothing
say.
says 6A like two Louisville schools playing at Kroger Field for the state championship. So, I mean, that's the truth. So
I think the biggest matchup that we look in this round here, Frederick Douglass Ryle. I think this one has a potential of being probably your best matchup of the 6A round.
100%,
Yes.
100%. Frederick Douglass
Um,
and Coach McPeak down in Lexington, man, they have really gotten that machine rolling. A constant thread. Now they got kicked back up to 6A, or they are. I think this is their second year, or maybe their
Yeah.
first year in 6A. But Coach McPeak and his team, they've proven they can win these big games. Come up a little short last year in this title game, but here they are, right back. It's they're a program though. They have reloaded. They didn't rebuild. They reloaded, and you get ready because they're going to be there every year. They're going to be there every year. And if I don't know if you guys are familiar with Frederick Douglass's facilities, it might be the best in the state. If it's not, it has to be top three.
Yeah, it's
So there's
it's a very nice
pride.
facility. We drive past it every time when we
Oh,
go to the state tournament. We're headed from our hotel over to Rupp. We drive by it every morning.
oh man.
yeah.
And those players take pride in that stuff. And And you know how enthusiastic Coach McPeak is about his team. Nobody does a better job of getting his team fired up probably than Coach McPeak. So I expect. I'm gonna say it. I think Frederick Douglass wins.
All right, Jacob. On the
I was about
backside
to
of
say the
this,
same thing.
with Ryle, they have been very tested. A 26-20 win over Covcath at the beginning of the season. They had a 7-point loss to Cal in week 4. Turn around and lose by 4 to Highlands in week 5. You give me a better schedule to line up from those 3 games right there. Yeah, they're out of classifications, but still, we know about what those teams possess.
Yeah, I'm sure like we said, Highlands played up in 5A last year. So, or was it last year? Like this is the first year they've been down
they
in
came
4A
back
for
down.
I
Highlands.
believe this is their first year.
Highlands is back down for the first time
So,
this year.
so Highlands always a powerhouse. Cubcats, same thing. I mean, you hear those names and you think of them playing at Kroger Field or getting close to Kroger Field,
Or
and
Jay
then
Marina.
yeah, that too.
Well,
Or
I'm gonna take the odd man out here. That's the way everybody has somebody to lay the goose on. People like to throw at it toward me. I'm gonna take Ryle in this game.
I think it's 50-50 game. Go back to what you were saying, though, Ryle being battle tested. A 7-point loss to Cal. If that doesn't shake your bones, if you're another 3A school still alive, then I don't know what does. They lost by, 4 to Covington Catholic, lost by 5 to Fort Thomas Highlands. But
No, they
Cal
lost
beat them
by
more
4 to
than-
Highlands. They beat Covcath by 6.
Okay. So, but Cal beat them by a full touchdown.
Yes.
Oh, boy. Okay.
All right,
Wow.
so here's the way things would shake out. So I think we're all in agreement. South Warren at the top of that bracket, St. X in the next one, Trinity and Frederick Douglass. So if we look at the way those line up, based off of the teams that would be left over, South Warren is going to play host to St. X. No, I'm sorry. South Warren is going to play host to the winner of Frederick Douglass and Ryle, and Trinity and St. X is going to play in the semifinals.
Yeah. Well, and they should just have that game at Papa John's or whatever the name of the stadium they
whatever
got
that
down there
stadium's
now
called now,
is.
I don't know, Cardinal Stadium.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
But
I don't keep up with Louisville football.
Okay, let's go to Class 5A. Owensboro, Fairdale, Atherton, and Bowling Green. This is in the west side of the bracket. You look at Owensboro, a perennial powerhouse. You know, they've been there, done that year in and year out. Bowling Green, another team that you got to kind of look at their record and who those losses came to early in the year to put that in perspective of where they are, because you can get sucked in with their record real quick, which happens to be at 6-6, and they are the sneakiest 6-6 team left in the state, I would tell you.
Keep your eyes on Atherton. I think that's the sleeper. I know they're 6-6, but keep an eye on Atherton. I'm telling you, that team could sneak up and win 5A. Got to watch some film on them. Got a lot of great athletes. I mean, they really do. 5A is probably they're just kind of over there. We don't really have any 5A schools. I think the closest is in Mount Sterling in Montgomery County. So they're just, and it's not like 6A. 6A is well publicized. And even when you're checking the scores for, other area teams on Friday night, late Friday night, you always take a peek at 6A. But you never really pay attention to 5A. So I'm guilty of that. But I do believe that Atherton is the big sleeper in that one. But Owensboro, you talk about a 6-6 team. Well, a 6-6 team just won the state championship just a few years ago when Belfry started the season 0-6 and then won the rest of their games. So that's the beauty of high school football. I don't like it. I think that the playoffs should be something that's earned. Then now they may have won their district, kind of like what Belfry did, and they should be in. But I think the regular season should carry some weight.
Atherton on the season has given up a grand total of 59 points, 33 of those in a 33-21 loss to Manual. The rest of the games, 7 points to Mercer County, 13 to North Oldham, 41-6 to J-Town. The Mercer County game is the one that really kind of haunts me about this Atherton team, because I've seen Mercer County in person and watched what Raceland did to that as a 1A school, and they only beat Mercer County 28-7.
Yeah, but Raceland's not a typical 1A school. Other than Cal in 3A, who beats Raceland? Really? I mean,
Yeah,
how could you say with confidence to anybody?
no. I mean, that's what
I
I'm saying. I mean,
couldn't.
you got to kind of put
Yeah,
that in perspective, though. But you're talking about a
right,
team that we have physically seen, and you can compare apples to
right,
apples to it. And you got to
right.
keep it aside. But and again,
I'm surprised.
every team has those nights too, where just something doesn't work, and that might have been the game with Atherton, to say the least.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, East Carter played perfect
One
against
thing,
Raceland, and had a chance to win the game there at the end. So I'm not taking anything away from East Carter, but that would have been an upset. It would have been.
Yeah, for sure.
So it would have been.
one thing I do want to say about Atherton is they've only played 3 teams with a winning record all year, and they were 2-1 in those games. But you got to think that's got to carry some weight on how good this team actually is against a 6-6 Bowling Green team,
I'm glad you said
and
that,
how
Jacob.
early
That
they.
reminds me of your Buckeyes, Ohio State. How many teams have they played with winning records, and they're sitting at number one?
It
Yeah,
don't matter.
there you go. No, it does matter. It does matter, Jacob. Tell him, James, it matters.
All right, let's go to
Now
the east.
you-
Let's go to the east side of. I'm not going into Buckeye stuff. I'll get on my tangent. I'll never get off of it. Pulaski County, West Jessamine, Woodford County, Scott County. Guys, that Woodford County, Scott County, that game is going to be a war.
Oh man,
I'm taking Scott
tell you.
County.
Well, Bourbon County or Woodford County is a historical powerhouse. They every once in a while they were always good, but every once in a while they have an exceptional team, and I think that's this year. Scott County, familiar with playing it. I think that I'm not sure if the state championships were at Kroger Field the last time they won. It has not been that long, but I'm not sure if it was there or not. But Scott County, a powerhouse, not just in football, across the board. So it's unfortunate that one of those teams gets eliminated there. Really, it's unfortunate because I think you can make an argument those might be two of the top 3 teams in the
There
class.
was 107 points scored when these two teams met back on October the 17th, 57-50. And this game was at Woodford. This will be at Woodford again. So, first 1 to 50 wins, maybe. Or is it going to be one of those anomalies where we get a 14-13 ball game and an extra point loses it at the end?
That's probably how it's going to happen.
Well, the weather's going to affect that game also. So, which team runs the ball more effectively? Which team can lean on their offensive line and say, "Hey, it's 4th and 2, we're down 7. Can we get 2 yards?" We're not confident in passing the ball because the field condition and the thing about turf is if it becomes a steady downpour, it has a tendency, maybe not Raceland's field where it's so new, but it will hold that water on top before it'll sink to the bottom. So what team runs the ball better? I think that looking at the prior matchups rushing stats tells more than anything.
Well, Scott County rushed 45 times for 488 yards in that game. They threw for 53. On the other side of it, Woodford County, they threw for 299 and ran for 246.
Well, then you kind of lean a little
About
towards Scott
split.
County. Give me Woodford.
You had, by the way, so going back to those stats, you had 2 guys that rushed for almost 200 yards each. Skylar Way had 196 on 20 totes, 2 touchdowns. Timmy Imongo, 14 carries, 188, 4 touchdowns for Scott County. Then on the other side, Fox Coons, who that name, I just love saying it, Fox Coons. I mean, that sounds like a quarterback. Threw for 299 yards, 4 touchdowns, and Darian Tomlin ran for 188 and 4 tutties. I would love to go watch this game. I think it's going to be a phenomenal football matchup. I do like what you're talking about, Spencer, about, the ability to run the football may be a little bit more effective, but on the backside of it, if you get a Woodford County team that maybe they jump out and get an early 10, 14-point lead, is Scott County fixated to be able to play from behind like that with that heavy rushing attack, not maybe being able to go to the air like they need to?
Well, I think that you saw that firsthand with Johnson Central and Covington Catholic last Friday. Johnson Central didn't have any timeouts, and I think there was 10 or 11 seconds left, and they, instead of taking 3 or 4 shots at the end zone, 2 or 3 anyways, they run the ball and the clock runs out because they weren't equipped to passing the ball. I'm not saying it was a bad play call or whatever anybody wants to think. The bottom line is they ran the ball and the clock ran out. So I don't, That's the thing when you run those schemes, man. If you get behind, it's an uphill battle. It's not one of those things where if you go down 7 or 10, like you said, and you get the ball back and say, okay, let's reset. You're going on these 4 or 5 minute drives, and before you know it, it's halftime, and you're still down 10.
All right, let's make some picks. So at the top of the bracket, Owensboro, Fairdale.
Give me Owensboro.
Owensboro.
I'm with Owensboro as well. Atherton, Bowling Green.
Bowling Green.
Atherton.
I'm going Bowling Green here. Pulaski, West Jessamine.
Pulaski.
Yeah, and then lastly, Woodford County and Scott.
Woodford.
Scott.
Okay, so man, we're across the board. This is crazy. I have crazy 5A. So here's where it stands right now. So Pulaski's the one team, the number one in RPI. Owensboro 2, Woodford County 3. And then the next team after that is Scott County at 4. So your 3 or 4 is going to be gone because they're going to play each other. Atherton would be your next team after that. And then obviously your lowest ranked team in the RPI is going to be Bowling Green, sitting down there at 6-6. So a Bowling Green win automatically sends them to, if Pulaski County wins, that would send them to Pulaski County, and whoever's left over gets to play each other in that next round. So that's a look at 5A as we dig through it. All right, let's go into, do we want to hold 4A for a bit and go to 3A and come back to 4A, or just want to go in order?
Let's just do 3A.
All right, we know what 3A. Okay, this won't take long. Probably just about as long as it's going to take for the teams to play out. So Cal, Union County, we've lost Jacob. That never happens.
Yeah, I thought. I thought that you lost me.
No, I lost Jacob.
Because I was like, oh, here we go.
Jacob just disappeared on us. We'll see if he comes back. We'll try to piece him back here. We've talked about this, Cal, and the dominance that they've got right now, but. I seriously, I don't know that they lose a game by a game that's not a running clock.
It's unfortunate for all the other 3A schools to have to look up at Cal. And you see what they do to these schools and other classifications above them that are ranked in the top 3 or 4. Now, that does not mean that Russell and Lawrence County can't have great years. Just because you don't win the state championship doesn't make it you haven't won, had a great year. But Cal is 100% the favorite. They will running clock every team they play. But I will say this. Russell and Lloyd Memorial will be a heck of a game. That may be your best game in 3A.
Jacob, rebuttal?
Where did we leave off?
Basically, Cal's going to run and clock everybody else. Now, what's the rest of it you want to talk about?
Yeah. Nothing really. I mean, I have to agree with that. Cal might run and clock everybody.
Let's make our picks in 3A then. All right, so Cal across the board. I think we're pretty fair there. Murray, Lex Calf.
Yep.
Lex Calf.
All right, Lloyd Memorial, Russell.
Lloyd Memorial.
I'm on Lloyd Memorial. Bell County, Russell, and Lawrence.
Bell.
Lawrence.
I would love to. I think Lawrence at home has an opportunity, but I think Bell at Bell is just too hard to beat. And Spencer, you've been there. You know how hard it is to play there.
Well, I didn't give that remark because I don't think Lawrence County has a chance. Jacob goes there a couple of times now. All of a sudden, he's a Bulldog. So
no, that's not how it works.
We know how he rides that bandwagon.
Yes. Bell County up there on top of Log Mountain. When they say
I've never been to Bell County.
Well,
I don't know how it is up there.
Their facilities are fantastic. Other than having to call a game in the middle of the rain on metal bleachers where you have to run a 100-foot extension cord into the men's restroom, and you have a canopy that's filling up with water that weighs 80 pounds. Other than that, it is a great place to watch football games.
Hey, at least you were in a bleachers. I was standing in the back of my truck.
Yeah, that night was interesting.
That was a fun night.
Jeff Irwin had to save us, but yeah, that was Bell County. Man, that is a very tough place to play. They always come out and support their team, and I've only been there once, but if you say Bell County a couple times in a couple of these area school districts, it's considered a cuss word. They've been dominant for years and years, and I think they've got one of those teams again. Now, they did play a close game with Campbellsville early this year. They dropped a game to Pulaski earlier this year, but both of those games were very close, and both those teams are very good. Lawrence County could score on anybody. They have enough speed to do anything with. But with impending weather coming in, it slows that speed down. It plays in the favor of Bell County, who will pound, pound, pound. And I think Bell County wins.
And here's another thing, too. They've got a common opponent. They played Rockcastle in week 6. They won that game easily 39-6.
Yeah. Bell County, if they don't have to,
they won't throw the ball.
They're not going to pass the ball. No, they're not.
They will run the ball every single play.
But they can, though. But they can. They have that ability to pass the ball. I think that's what makes them so dangerous. They're not a team that's going to come out and just throw the ball around. But if they go down, or let's say they fumble the first possession, the other team goes down and scores, and it's getting late in the half, they'll throw the ball around. They've
rushed for over 3,300 yards on the season. They've thrown for just over 1,000.
Yeah. So, but they have the potential to,
For sure. Okay, so all right, here's where we are. So Cal obviously is your number 1. Lloyd Memorial is your 2. Murray is the 3, and then Bell County is the 4. So if what we picked plays out, if Lloyd Memorial wins, Murray would go to Lloyd Memorial, and then Bell County would go to Cal. Now you throw some wrinkles in there. If you take Spencer's pick and you take Russell over Lloyd Memorial, now Murray with a win is playing at home. You move Bell County to go to Murray, and then Russell would go to Cal.
And that's the end of the year.
And that's the end of the year. Now, the other flip of this is if Lex Cath beats Murray, then that would send Bell County to Lloyd Memorial, and then Lex Cath would go to Cal. So that's kind of your
that
playouts.
Lex Cath Bell County. If Lex Cath and Bell County get together, I think those are your 2 and 3 in 3A.
Yeah.
I do, honestly. But the gap is significant.
It's very significant for sure.
It's just, and people are probably watching our show going, "Oh, this team, everybody's beatable." Not really. You haven't seen Cal. I promise you, nobody's beating them in 3A.
No,
I'm telling you.
I mean, people can call me crazy if they want to. I've not seen anything that makes me believe that there's a team in 3A that is going to be within 3 touchdowns of them.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay, let's go to 2A. We've got Owensboro Catholic, Somerset at the top. Somerset, I love their name, the Briar Jumpers. They've got probably one of the prettiest facilities of any place you go. The purple, it pops when you go there. They've got a beautiful press box, tons of seating and stuff. I mean, they really take a lot of pride in there. Got a chance to go there and do a game several years ago, but OCATH, just a brute of a football team in 2A.
Yeah. Well, Owensboro Catholic's going to have to stop being the bridesmaid here pretty soon. They're going to have to win one of these things. They've been to the state championship so many times, and they've had great teams. They are a program that's rich with tradition, but they could never really get over that hump. And I think that they're the number 1 team in RPI, I believe.
Yeah, they are.
Owensboro Catholic is in 2A. But if you're Owensboro Catholic, you take care of business Friday against a very good Somerset team. You look across the way and you see an unfamiliar foe in Belfry and Beechwood. So you win, but your prize is you get to play Belfry or Beechwood. So but they'll be at home regardless. But 2A is brutal too, man. 2A is really brutal.
All right, so
pretty nasty.
LCA Mayfield is the other game there in the West. Who are you liking this one?
Oh my God. Well, how are those two?
Flip a coin.
Well, I'll you know what? I'm going to go Mayfield. And it's odd that those two teams are both in the West. I mean, they couldn't be, about 4 hours apart? Yeah. 3 hours anyways. They have to be.
No, I'd say on a yellow
it's probably closer to 4
hours.
Yeah, so Mayfield, I believe, won 2A last year. And maybe I could be wrong. Or Beechwood won
it last year?
Yeah, Beechwood. So Mayfield has won it.
I believe Mayfield won it the year before last.
Yeah, so you know what? Give me Mayfield.
Lexington Christian is who I'm taking.
So this is a rematch of this same round last year. LCA won this game 47-7. That took Mayfield out. So
Wow.
Interesting to see
Okay.
these two hook back up like that. So, okay.
I have to edit that out.
Yeah, there you go. All right, the bottom half of the bracket in the East, Belfry, Breathitt County. Breathitt County, a solid run, but, man, you're going to run into a buzzsaw of Belfry.
Yeah, and Breathitt County, another one of those programs that are rich with tradition. It's unfortunate, like I keep saying, that it's that time of the year though, man, when you see really good
Right.
football teams play their last football. And Breathitt County got a big win over Russell the last regular season game, and I think they're honestly playing their best football of the year. Did drop a game week 1 against Middlesboro. Talked to some people down at Breathitt County, said that they had quite a few players out. Regardless, it was a loss. But I think Belfry, every time it gets about this year, time of the year, man, turkey time, they hit a different gear, and I think they do Friday night also.
Yeah,
Beechwood,
I'll take Belfry.
yeah, Beechwood, Prestonsburg. Another solid run by Prestonsburg, a very good program-rich team that has really come on over the last several years. But again, you talk about program-rich, it doesn't get any richer than Beechwood.
Yeah, Prestonsburg hasn't played the strongest schedule either. I'm not knocking them, but I'm just saying, look at who's Beechwood's played, and then look who Prestonsburg's played. Prestonsburg has had a great year. They've had the last 2 years have been great for them, but they will get beat Friday night against Beechwood.
Yeah, they're coming in at 12-0, and they are the bottom team left in the standings in RPI. We're
Yeah,
only ahead of Breathitt County.
right.
And Breathitt County at 10-2. So that
Hmm.
kind of puts in perspective of the strength of schedules. It goes from there. But as you're looking right now, if you go chalk per se, you've got Owensboro Catholics 1, LCA 2, Mayfield 3, Belfry 4, Beechwood 5, and then Somerset. So it's really going to be decided with Lexington Christian Mayfield if who Belfry would go play next, and then Beechwood would go to Ocath.
Yeah, 2A is such, I'd hate to even put a prediction on it really, because I think that Beechwood, Belfry, Owensboro Catholic, and Mayfield and LCA are all capable of winning it. It's almost put them all in a cap and pull names.
Yeah.
Now I say that there might be a big blowout Friday night. Now Lexington Christian, I don't know if they've changed their scheme, but they usually, when Cutter Bowley was there, they threw the ball around quite a bit. So I keep saying this, but it's the truth. Weather will play a factor in these games Friday night.
Looking at LCA, they've thrown the ball for roughly 2,000 yards on the season. They've got their quarterback is also their leading rusher. He's rushed for almost 750 yards, 12 touchdowns, thrown for 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions on the season. So, I mean, it's no secret they're going to spread it out and toss it around a little bit. Interesting thing, too, is they got a new head coach. Doug Charles is no longer the guy in charge there. Now Oakley Watkins takes things over and has picking this team up right where it left off last season. This would be a huge win for a coach in his first year there.
Yeah, absolutely. LCA, a lot of people around here know them very well because they used to be in the district with Raceland and Fairview. So, LCA is, and like you said, under their first year head coach, but it sounds like that they do a lot of quarterback design runs.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot of those RPO and read option stuff, and I think that they're going to have to lean on their offensive line a lot more than what they normally do. I'm not saying you're not going to be able to throw the ball. I'm telling you, somebody will be busy Friday night across the state will be the ball boys, because teams are constantly going to want fresh footballs
balls,
in that are at least halfway dry. So, you know what? I'm going to ride with Mayfield, but LCA, they're one of those teams, like they play Lexcath every year. They play a lot of the teams around the Lexington area. Lexington Christian, one of those teams that'll play anybody anytime. But Mayfield, I believe, is the winningest program in state history as far as overall wins. So I'm going to go Mayfield.
The thing I will say with LCA and talking about their system hasn't changed, because last year that was kind of the same thing. Their quarterback was a guy that could pull it down and run. He could sling it anywhere on the field he wanted to, but he could beat you with his feet. And I really like the way that their program is set up. I know Coach Charles, who was there for a long time, he did some phenomenal stuff with it, but I'm going to take LCA in that one. I think that, especially playing at home there with Mayfield having to make that long trip across the state, I think it gives you a little bit of an edge from there. All right, let's dive over to 4A. It's no secret. I think we've got 4, maybe 5 teams in 4A that could compete for this title. And we got some really good games on tap coming out of this week. Franklin County, North Oldham, Paducah, Tillman, Logan County. That's your west side of the bracket. Guys, where do you want to start? Franklin County, North Oldham. You look at that. Franklin County, a team that kind of is maybe as a bridesmaid, kind of hangs around there, but all of a sudden you look up at the end of the year and there they are sitting around the Final Four yet again.
Yeah, Franklin County and who'd you say was the other team on the west side? So
Paducah
Franklin
Tillman.
County and Paducah Tillman. I think those are chalk games. I think both those teams advance, and probably Franklin County's probably undefeated. So
They
They are 12 and
they
0.
are, yeah. So
Yeah.
you get those two teams advance, and then in the East, that's where everybody's eyes will kind of be at because you've got Boyle and Corbin still alive, and Covington Catholic and Fort Thomas Highlands.
Yeah, so where are we? Are we pretty much across the board here? Franklin and Paducah Tillman in the top half of the West.
I am. I'm comfortable
Yeah.
with them.
Okay. All right. Bottom
Yeah,
half.
I'm comfortable with that.
Boyle County playing host to Covcath. Highlands gets Corbin at home. Again, I don't want to say coin flips here, but I think that the home field certainly is going to play into a fact of a little bit of this. But you've got 4 really good football teams right there, and 2 of them season's going to come to an end.
Yeah, I think Boyle County probably has a little bit of sour taste in their mouth from last year because I think Spencer might have jinxed them, saying that nobody could beat them, and then we turn around and look, Cupcats upsets them in the last play of the game, and it's kind of just one of those things that Boyle County might use that as firepower and find a way to win against a very strong Cupcats team.
See, I'm going to go against the grain here. I think you're going to see a Fort Thomas Highlands and a Covington Catholic, both those teams win. I think both those teams are the top teams in 4A. Now, I don't know anything about Paducah Tillman, but I have seen Covington Catholic and Fort Thomas Highlands. And if they're any better than that, then 4A is just something's got to be done about it. It's just not fair, the talent that they have there. I think Fort Thomas Highlands and Covington Catholic both win.
Jacob, who you got?
I got Highlands over Corbin and Boyle County over Cubcast, Paducah Tillman over Logan, and Franklin County over North Oldham.
All right, so we take chalk on the top. All right, so if Boyle County wins, they're at home next week. They would get, looks like they would get Paducah Tillman. And then if we said Franklin County, if Highlands wins, Highlands would go to Franklin County. Now, again, if Covcath wins, they're going to, let's see, so hang on just a second here. I'm trying to do some stuff in my head. So they're playing Boyle County, so then they would go to whoever's left, which in that case, if it's Franklin County, they'd go to Franklin County. So a long trip across the west side of the state, no matter what. But again, 4A, the 4A state or the semifinals is probably, I think, going to be some of your best football across all 6 classifications.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's dig into the one that we talk the most about because it's the one we cover the most in this area. The west side of the bracket, KCD and Newport, and in Campbellsville, Newport Central Catholic. Let's start first with KCD. Down there in Louisville, Coach Matt Jones has really got his team coached up. They've been a phenomenal program over the last several years. They've been in the state semifinals the last several years. They keep running into the same buzzsaw of Raceland. They can't run into that team this year in the semifinals, but can they get themselves back in that same position? Again, another home playoff game in the state semis.
I believe they do have grass, so they are one of the only natural surfaces left,
Yes.
I think. So with the weather, I'm not sure, which I'm not going to take Newport. I'll take KCD, but I think it could be not as big of a blowout as what we would think.
Now, I want to throw a wrench in here before Spencer dives in this one because, Spencer, we're very familiar with what KCD, what they run. Again, a lot of bone last year. This year, triple option. And when you bring in the elements of the rain, that triple option, that sometimes that gets a little bit almost as quirky as trying to throw the football.
It does, but you got to think on the other side. Newport Central Catholic, they make their money by passing the ball.
Now, hang on.
So
no,
which?
This is Newport. Newport Central Catholic's going to Campbellsville.
Okay, so we're talking about KCD. Okay,
Yes.
so but KCD, we had talked about earlier in the show about a team that gets behind and it'd be tough to come back from. Well, KCD is one of those teams. But I think that this is your strongest team that they've had over the past 4 or 5 years. I think that they get. I think that they win Friday. But you got to think, guys, that's all the way down to Louisville, so that rain may already move through that area by the time that they play.
Yeah.
So give me KCD in that game.
I'm with you there as well. I think KCD. I really think a lot of Matt Jones's team. I think they're a good group of kids, and he's really had the pieces there, and they've been so close. And just the last couple of years, just run into a really good Raceland team there in the semis and not been able to get through it. But I think they do advance in this one. This next one is one that has gotten a lot of people's attention. And I've heard a lot of off-the-cusp type of stuff from this game. But Campbellsville, Newport Central Catholic, and you hear a lot of people with the grumblings of saying, don't be surprised to see NCC come out of this one.
I would be surprised. I would be surprised. That would be an upset.
I think it would be a big upset.
Yeah, I would be surprised. We've got to see Newport Central Catholic in person, and like I said, they like to throw the ball around. Got athletes all over the field. They've got a good quarterback. They're solid up front. But Campbellsville was, Campbellsville is kind of that forgotten team in 1A. They've kind of just over there. They've been in KCD's shadow for a long time. They've been in Raceland's shadow, even though they haven't played them. But they're not one of the big couple teams that you talk about late in the year. But I think Campbellsville, I think they handle them, and I think they beat them bad. Give me Campbellsville.
I'll take Campbellsville.
Some interesting numbers here. They fell in the season opener to Bell County 30-24. That game was at home. They blew out Mercer County, a familiar opponent with Raceland in there. Only a 3-point win over Hazard down in Hazard. And again, we know how tough it is to play down there. And then the 10-point win over KCD. So I like this team. I really want to see the Eastridge kid, their quarterback, a dual threat guy. He's a guy that he respects. You have to put a spy on him because of what he can do with his legs. He can sling it with his arm, but really want to see this kid in person. I think he's a phenomenal quarterback. Would really like to see this team in person as well, but I think Campbellsville in this one. Obviously, it would be a big monkey wrench to throw into what would happen in the rest of the brackets if NCC would come out of this. We'll talk about that in just a second. All right, Raceland Paris, a rematch of about a month ago. Raceland ran for a school record 481 yards. They did it with ease. Again, price of poker is a little higher in this one, and again, you can't take over what that game was. Raceland did knock out Paris's quarterback in that game early in the contest. He is back with the team, still playing. He played last week. He looks fine. So you kind of have to hit the reset button when you go into this one and can't just lean on something that happened a month ago.
Yeah, Paris, the problem with Paris, this is a really bad matchup for them. The thing about Raceland is, how do you defend them? Put your defensive coordinator cap on just for a minute. You're not a Raceland guy. You're playing Raceland. We got to stop their run. We've got to stop Marucci and Landon Stiltner somehow. Okay, let's load the box. Well, we can't do that because on the edges, they got Rousey, Arnett, and Ison. So now what do we do? You just got to play your base defense. I think that's what Paris does. And they just kind of say, we're going to live and die with this. Unfortunately, Raceland gashes them on the ground again, and Raceland wins.
Raceland, yep.
The one thing that I will say that you have to watch with Paris, they have some explosive guys. Number 5, Bell, that kid is as fast as lightning. And you get him in open space, and he will run away from people. So I think Raceland's gap integrity has to be very keen. You have to look for wrinkles that you didn't see before. Again, I talked about it on the show last night with Raceland that Paris is playing with house money. They got nothing to lose. So any wrinkle that they can throw out there, they're going to do. And again, there's some bad blood that brews with this game, and I'm not going into any details or throwing any storylines out there. But these two teams, they don't have a lot of love for each other. It's not been any secret over the last several years, to say the least.
No, they're not. They're not good friends, that's for sure. But if you're Raceland and you're Paris, and you look at if you're just as a spectator and you look at this game, one team can block up front and the other one can't. One team can run the ball and the other one, but the other one can't. But I like what you said though. Paris has some guys that can play anywhere. Same way with Nicholas County. I totally agree. They have guys that if they get space, you ain't getting them.
Yeah.
It's it. They're scoring. But if Raceland can, I look for a heavy dose of that T formation Friday night and really just grind them down. And I think a lot of things that there's a lot of said about teams in this area, but Raceland's depth, especially on the offensive line, and just putting Arnett at running back. Okay, we'll put him in the slot. Now we're going to put Marushi in the backfield with Arnett and Stiltner, and then they put Stiltner out at wide receiver. So I think that just the versatility of Raceland just makes it a defensive coordinator's nightmare. And if you're Parrish, you're sitting there saying, "What are we going to do?" And back to what you said, there's going to be some wrinkles. That's fine, but you're still going to have to stop the run, and I don't think they do.
And the other side of it too is that you try to stop the run, and then they can bring the swing game into the play. You can run a drag route, you can run a wheel route. We saw Jonah run that last week. They swung one out to him.
Yeah.
He got a block on the edge, and it's something Coach Sammons talked about on the show last night. How well, and I've said this so many times in games this year, how well the wide receivers have blocked for each other on the edges to set the edge so that somebody can get that extra crease, and they've got guys that can run away from people as well.
Yeah, they do, and I think blocking downfield has helped Racing a lot. Being able to get your guys to the next level. Once Marushi or Arnett or Stiltner gets to that next level, you don't see any of the Raceland guys at the original line of scrimmage. They're moving downfield. They're getting on these linebackers. They're getting on these safeties. They're getting on these corners, and they're really tough to tackle in open field. Especially Lana Stiltner, who I think is super underrated with his speed. Guy's one of the fastest guys in the area, easily. So, and you don't want to get in front of that train. That would be a very painful experience. I think Raceland wins. I'm not going to say comfortably because it's tough to kind of like you said though, they're high school kids, James. So like Coach Saman says, they're not going to just continue the score, but it's tough to restart a game knowing what the score was before you played them.
Yeah.
So I think it's I wouldn't say a close game, but it's definitely closer this time than it was last.
Jacob, something that we've talked a lot about Raceland this year, and it's something that they've not had in years past, is that ability to be explosive. And that's something that we've seen, especially in the kicking game. They've had some big returns. But Coach Sammons was talking about this too. Last week, there were some plays they were trying to set up running out of base in the third quarter, and they didn't get to do any of it because they hit 2 home run balls, and it was in the end zone. And it's just that's the ability that they've got from the guys in the backfield to the guys on the outsides.
Yeah, like Spencer said, that's a defensive coordinator's nightmare, and who you got to try and guard where, and you just got to know where everybody's at. And like we talked about on the show last night, it starts with the offensive line. And I think that's kind of been the story this whole year. And what has allowed those guys to be so explosive is how good the front guys have played and how much depth they have in that position.
Yep, for sure. All right, the bottom half, Pikeville, Middlesboro, a phenomenal matchup. I think this one's going to be a really good battle. Jacob, you're headed down there to go cover this game for us, so you'll have full highlights from it from down there. But this one, I mean, there's a lot at stake. And again, you look at Pikeville, the 2 losses on the season after the early loss to Cal, but they lost to Johnson Central and then Belfry in 2 ugly losses, haven't lost since. Middlesboro, they sit at 11-0, but not a lot to be told about them because where they are, there's just not a lot of information that comes out of that area.
Go for it, Spencer.
Well, Middlesboro, a traditional power in 1A. They kind of haven't shown their teeth in a while, but Middlesboro used to be in 2A when they were in 4 classes. Because I remember when Russell went the last time, or maybe in '05, Middlesboro was in the semi-state. So Middlesboro has always had good teams, and I believe that is down in Bell County, if down in that area somewhere,
yeah,
right?
Down that way.
So I believe it's right on the Tennessee line. So, rightfully so, we wouldn't see a whole lot of Middlesboro. But Pikeville has hit a different gear over these past couple of weeks. I feel like that they have really found their identity offensively. Um, and they're a team that once they get that couple of scores, it turns into three or four, and then 5 and 6, and all of a sudden the game's over with. So Pikeville, I think this game will be close. I really do. I think it's a 10 to 17 point game, but I do think Pikeville wins.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see Middlesbrough because, like you said, we don't really get to see them much. But I have to agree. I think Pikeville finds a way to win at home.
The interesting
Yeah.
thing I think that lays out about this game is that some stuff that jumps out at me is both of these teams rely very heavily on the passing game. But on
Yes.
the other side of it, you've got a prolific running back in the backfield with Middlesboro as well, who's rushed for over 800 yards in the season. But they've got three main receivers that they're going to work with: Joseph Killian, Amari Houston, and Mekhi Young, who have caught 500 yards or more on the season and combined for 26 of the 29 touchdowns from Deacon Parton. On the other side for Pikeville, J.J. Reynolds has thrown for 23 touchdowns, almost 1,700 yards, and he's got three main guys he's going to throw the ball to. Mikey Hager, who is prolifically one of the best receivers in that area, Harrison Fields, and Cole Sloan. The biggest thing is that this year it's kind of been Jaden Justice out of the backfield, and that's been it. It's kind of been one running back and some other stuff. The Jeremiah Anderson kid, he'll work as some fullbacks. They've done a little bit of stuff with him, but he only has 111 yards on 18 carries. So I just feel like that, yes, Pikeville's that team, and you know what Pikeville is when it gets to this side. But Middlesboro is a team that is certainly got the wrinkles to throw at Pikeville and could turn this into a shootout.
Absolutely, especially, and I'm starting to sound like a broken record with the way the weather is going to be. I mean, really, when you
Yeah,
got to think that has to play a role in these games. Like you said, Pikeville didn't really get anything on the ground when they played Raceland down there. So I still think Pikeville wins. The kids on the team have experience in big time games. Middlesboro, I'm not saying they're glad to be there just to be there, but they don't have a whole lot of experience in this position. Give me Pikeville at home.
All right, so I think we're across the board. Raceland, KCD, Campbellsville, Pikeville. Is that what we're going with, guys?
Yes, yes.
All right, so you get that, and what you set up is a Black Friday showdown that the two teams hosting lost to the two teams that are visiting in the state semis.
Yeah.
it's the broken system of RPI.
No, I don't want to hear that.
That's another
That's-
conversation for another
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, we don't have time for that one.
Well, what we do have time for is to say next week we'll get the stuff out on Thursday. We'll give you a little Thanksgiving leftovers to consume before we get into Black Friday football. But we'll break everything down again next week. Don't forget, when you look at the brackets on the KHSA website, those brackets are irrelevant. Next week, what it happens is the remaining four teams, regardless of East-West, it's only the RPI that sets them up for where they go play. So don't look at that bracket and think these two teams have to come out. That's not how this thing sets up. So we'll break everything down next week. We'll have a special Thanksgiving Day show for you. It'll air at the same time, 7 o'clock. And then that final week going into the state championship, we'll break everything down and make our final picks there for who we think will represent each classification as a state champion. Guys, a fun week as always, but anytime again, if you're a football team and you're talking about playing for the right to play Black Friday football, you've had a pretty successful season.
Yeah, Coach McGlone always used to say, if you're eating Thanksgiving dinner and you got practice on the same day, you've had a pretty good year.
So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us. Have a good week. We'll talk to you next week. Happy Thanksgiving. And for everyone out there, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like and follow us here on the channel. Hit that subscribe button if you see something you like and want to keep up with us throughout the bit. For Jacob Hankins, Spencer Hutchinson, I'm James Collier. So long. We'll talk to you next week right here on the High School Football Playoff Show. Semifinals coming up next Thursday right here on Colt TV.